Joy and the supply chain. Topic of my conversation right now with Kat Small. She is Chief of Staff with White Labs. Hi, Kat.
Hi, Bob. Nice to see you.
We feeling joyous right now?
Very joyous.
I hope so. Do you consider joy to actually be mission critical in the business world?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
You have to have passion to drive your team,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have to create that culture of wanting to do 110% every day for the company, for your own life, not just the company, but to have that drive every day in your personal life as well as in your business life.
You know how many people describe in the descriptions of who they are and what they are, how many people will say they have a quote unquote passion for something, which leads me to think there are an awfully lot of passionate people in the business world. I don't always trust it when they say that.
Yeah.
What is real passion in a business context though? Is it come from the top? Is it like, what does it really mean? How do you give meaning to that word in a business setting without it being a cliche?
Passion comes from the top.
Yeah.
It drives the culture, right? It drives everybody to work their hardest when they see the top working as hard as they do. I was just this last week with a shop vac cleaning up a broken toilet in White Labs. So
Was that a passionate experience?
It's not a passionate experience, but I'm saying that I do what it takes to get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, you're exhausted, but there's a sense
There's
of
a lot of satisfaction in that. You made a difference. No, I'm not
Yeah.
joking. You really did.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it kind of comes from.
if your
I guess.
team sees you doing that, it's not beneath them to do it as well, right?
Yeah.
It's a toilet.
So-
There's stuff all over. Don't care. Get
So
it
the,
done.
So the passion / joy comes from the top, filters down, but people down below also have to mirror that. They have to feel it
Exactly.
themselves. They have to
Yes.
be there, and they have to want to be
Yes.
there.
I
Interesting.
agree.
Okay, let's take another buzzword and turn it into something that really means something. That is collaboration.
Yes.
Tell me about real collaboration, true collaboration with suppliers and vendors in
Yeah.
a business setting.
Yep.
What is that all about? How does that happen?
So the relationships you create with your vendors, with your customers, right?
Mm-hmm.
It goes a long way in your business. And one of the things I do with our supply chain representatives is I have them come on site. I'll spend 2 to 3 hours with them, taking them on a tour, seeing them every single department that makes liquid yeast and
Yeah.
what that does and how that drives our business to drive their business in return. And so I create these relationships with our representatives from UPS, from FedEx, from DHL, so they get to know us, and that creates a better relationship, better renegotiation tools when you need to renegotiate.
Yeah.
They know that they know your business as well as you should know your business because they've been in. My UPS rep right now, he could probably tell you more about my company than anybody new starting. You know what I mean? Like, he knows exactly what we ship, what box it goes in,
Mm-hmm.
what the rate is, what their does that go FedEx or does that go overnight or does that go 2 day? So
Wait a minute. You're telling me that Zoom is not good enough for collaboration and passion?
Zoom
That
is
people
hard.
actually have to be in a
Yeah.
face-to-face situation?
Zoom has a place.
Yeah.
When COVID was happening, but it doesn't replace human connection, human contact,
Mm-hmm.
of being in the same room together to really work on stuff. I feel like Zoom is a good start. A lot of times with our remote people, I'll be like, let's start mapping it out remotely over Zoom. And then when you're on site next week, the week after, let's really dig into this because I feel like collaboration happens more when you're one-on-one with somebody.
Do you think that to the extent that there could be any silver lining to a pandemic like we experienced, a horrible experience, but did it not all remind us of how important
Yeah.
this personal relationship and face-to-face contact is?
Agree, 100%. COVID
Yeah.
did change how we communicated, made some of us more introverted,
Mm-hmm.
and those who were extroverted went a little nutty, right? Because they weren't able to get out and be
Yeah.
around people. So
Well-
it's made a huge change.
Tell me about what it's like to experience people who do have joy in the workplace versus people who don't.
Yeah.
We all know there are plenty of those.
Yeah.
From personal experience, what is that like?
Yeah, it's hard, right? It's
Mhm.
hard to make somebody have joy. You can't do it.
Yeah.
It's a decision that person has to make. So a lot of times when staff come up to me about something that happened and they're frustrated or they're angry, and I'm like, okay, let's look at it a different way. So instead of what happened and point fingers, let's look at switching our processes.
Mm-hmm.
So next time it does happen, we have a plan B. And it's a mindset switch for them that I attempt to do. Not always works, but it's a good way to start with them.
Yeah.
It's hard, but yeah, that's my goal for them.
As opposed to things, trendy stuff that happens in companies where you try to impose some aspect of joy on people by having them get involved in quote unquote fun events and things like that. Sometimes they're team building. Sometimes they're just people just roll their eyes and say, I'm just going to get through this. The external stuff doesn't always work, does it?
It doesn't.
It really has to come from within, as you're saying.
It does have to come within. I worked in personal development prior to my position right now.
Uh-huh.
So I've done a lot of ropes course, trust falls. I've done all that stuff. And I'll be the first ones to roll my eyes at that idea.
Yeah.
Because I've done it so many times. But it's the collaboration as a team is that you might get a lot of eye rolling at first, but once they work through problems and work together, even if it's bowling, right? You're on different teams and you have the teams going against each other.
Yeah.
Each team has that collaboration going.
Here's the danger, though, in focusing so much on the importance of top-down C-suite. That person might leave.
Yeah.
Then what happens to the organization? Does everybody all of a sudden get sad? How do you keep the whole culture going when the leader is gone and somebody else has come in?
By being the best example you can be to everybody else.
Uh-huh.
So
now you're talking about it's responsible for everybody in the organization.
it's myself, my actions, right? I'm a person that I'm always trying to be better day by day by day by day, right? I'm working on myself. And I always expect people to do the same, and not everybody does, right? So I always, like I said before, tweak how people approach problems is the majority of how I try to switch that. We have this problem. How would you do it in an ideal world? And when you have a lot of culture that leaves, because we did have a shift of employment, you have to keep on that and keep driving that train.
Mm-hmm.
So
interesting. Let me take a moment just to ask you about White Labs, Kat. What is White Labs?
So White Labs, what we do is we make liquid yeast for breweries, distilleries, wineries. We do the analytical side for breweries. So any testing, ABV, calories, we do that as well. We do educational classes for breweries and their staff, teaching them how to do proper QA. And then what else do we do? And we also make beer.
Also make beer.
We
This
also
is an
make
aside.
beer.
You did that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's good to see the rise and fermentation of yeast and joy within White Labs,
Yeast
and
and
that you've
joy.
been able to spread that message to other people. I'm actually feeling that right now. Thank you so much for helping me to understand just what that might actually mean in an organization, as opposed to just the cliche stuff that people talk about.
Yeah.
Kat Small, thank you very much for being with me.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
I have been speaking with Kat Small of White Labs. Thank you very much for watching.